Part 85. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 843. Alan, take these drawings to the people in the workshop for study, remember to tell them. Subai handed over the drawing and continued. The production principle is actually the same as that of a musket, but what should be paid attention to is the production of the artillery barrel. He carefully told the cat-eared girl what to pay attention to. This was not a simple matter. You must clearly explain everything that may happen and what you need to pay attention to, so as not to make any mistakes. I understand, but making such a large artillery must require a lot of iron ore. Shalan looked at the drawing again. Even though it was the second time she saw the drawing, she still felt very shocked. All the details on it were painted in great detail. Even when she, a layman, saw this drawing, everyone knows what kind of process it is. Not to mention that the workshop has already made muskets. They will find it simpler and clearer when they look at this picture. The only difficulty is probably the experiment and production. Again, theory and practice are two different things. The iron ore used to make one cannon can be used to make dozens of muskets, so it is indeed a waste of iron ore. Subai took a sip of tea and continued to warn, but don't put pressure on them. Make sure they are steady and don't worry about wasting iron ore. Of course he is worried about the consumption of iron ore. After all, a very large amount of iron ore has not been discovered yet. But there is nothing that can be done now. Who makes people in the primitive era understand nothing, so they can only let them try step by step? Wrong. Only by slowly cultivating their abilities and knowledge in the early stage will they be able to help more when the tribe grows stronger. I understand. I believe they will also bring good news to Wu. Shalan nodded. With the steam engine, it shouldn't be too difficult to make the artillery barrel. Subai has high hopes for the people in the workshop. Anyway, he has already drawn the artillery production process in great detail. The people in the workshop only need to follow the steps step by step. Of course, it does not say that the production process will be different. It's very simple. He will also give the people in the workshop time to experiment. After all, practice is the truth. How can you determine the quality of something that has not been tested? Wu, after we have artillery, do we use explosive bags to detonate it? Shalan asked curiously. She heard Subai explain the principle of artillery, which means that when the fuse is burned to a certain level, the shells in the artillery barrel will be ejected. All Mao Er can think of is explosives. The bag also needs to light the fuse. Can it be put into the artillery barrel after lighting the fuse? We don't need to use explosives, we need to use different weapons. Subai put down the teacup. Different weapons? Shalan said doubtfully. Wu, isn't this weapon particularly handsome? Yanhua asked impatiently. Niujiao Niang heard Subai mention the word handsome before, and finally realized that this word can be used to describe many different states. So sometimes Yanhua would always say something in the tribe vocabulary that people don't understand because she thinks it's so funny. It can be said that this weapon is specially adapted to the artillery. Subai smiled and said. Wu, what kind of weapon is that? Is it the same weapon as a bullet? Shalan asked curiously. Almost the same, but this weapon is round, and the bullet is long, so the power of the two is different, Subai explained simply. The weapon he is talking about is ammunition, a round, black ammunition whose explosive power can be said to be dozens of times that of a bullet. It turns out to be round ammunition. Wu, is it particularly difficult to make this kind of ammunition? Yanhua asked with her neck tilted. The horn girl listened with great interest and found the knowledge very interesting. She was already very shocked when she heard about the artillery, and now she was even more fascinated when she heard about the ammunition. It was written all over her face. Full of expectations, as if I heard something incredible. It's not particularly difficult, you just need to prepare the materials. Making it is almost the same as an explosive pack. Subai crossed his legs and continued to explain. Actually, there are two different mentality. One is a big iron ball, which relies on kinetic energy and potential energy to hit people and things. This kind of ammunition cannot explode. Woo, can the other one explode? Yanhua kept blinking her red eyes. Yes, the other way is to use a round model, put all the explosive materials inside to make a round bomb, and then project it through the artillery to explode, Subai continued to explain. Woo, if according to what you said, this ammunition does not have a fuse, then how can it explode after being projected? Yanhua continued to ask. When Subai explained the principles of artillery, she listened very intently and did not miss any part that she did not understand. Just like the two types of ammunition, both types of ammunition did not have an external fuse. Yes, there is a very obvious difference from the explosive bag. That's why the horn lady was confused. Before, the fuse had to catch fire and the flames burned the things inside the explosive bag to produce an explosive reaction. Woo, I also have a question, that is, if we put ammunition into the artillery barrel, won't the ammunition explode inside the artillery barrel? Shaylin pointed her chin with her index finger, with a puzzled expression on her face. She felt that the principle of artillery was a bit strange. This is a good question. Let me answer Ahua's question first. The reason why the artillery can explode without a fuse is because of the fuse problem. Subai looked at Niojiao Niang and continued, we can fill the interior with explosives. The shell is detonated by igniting the internal black powder through a slowly burning tube. He explained in detail why the explosive exploded when it flew out, and his explanation was a bit professional at the beginning. In the end, it slowly started to become vernacular again, because he was afraid that Yanhua would not understand, so he spoke a little more plainly. Subai originally wanted to explain that some cannonballs explode only when they hit an object, but in the end he decided not to. On the other side of the earth, cannonballs that explode when they hit an object did not appear until modern times. This principle is to fill it with gunpowder that is not resistant to strong earthquakes, and when it hits the target, the gunpowder is detonated by the impact generated by the hit. But this trigger condition needs to be able to withstand the vibration when firing, otherwise it will be useless. Now let's solve Alan's doubts. The reason why the shell will not explode inside the barrel is because the structure of the shell is actually relatively complicated. Bai took a sip of water and continued, there are not only explosives that produce explosive power, but more importantly, the fuse. He recounted the knowledge from books he had read before in one breath, but it was still a bit difficult to say it in his own words now. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 844. I probably know that this fuse is a very crucial thing, Woo, but what exactly is the fuse? Shalan asked in confusion. The cat-eared girl tried her best to think about what Subai said, and she probably understood a lot. But there are still a lot of unfamiliar words that she doesn't understand at all. After all, they are all modern words. It can be said that the fuse is the key to unlocking the power of the artillery shell, so. Bai saw that the girls were a little stunned and continued to explain where and when the shell will be detonated basically depends on the fuse. In fact, the main way to trigger the fuse is to use the inertial force at the moment when the artillery shell is ejected from the chamber. When the artillery shell flies at extremely high speed, the fuse is in a ready-to-fire state. Once the launched artillery shell hits the target, the fuse is activated, and the explosive will ignite and explode. And the fuse, there will be a variety of insurances to prevent the shells from exploding due to slight shaking when handling the shells on a daily basis. It turns out that's the case, but what is the key? Shalan asked curiously. The cat-eared girl doesn't know what a key is. After all, there was no such thing as a lock in the primitive era. The key is similar to the big logs we put behind the door after we close the door to the tribe. Subai gave an example from this era. The Yanlong tribe's door would be closed every time night came. The way to close it was also very simple. It was to hang a few pieces of wood behind the door. There were 2 rows behind the door. There are 2 hooks, and large logs are hung horizontally on these 2 rows of hooks. In addition to preventing tribesmen from sneaking into the forest, which is very dangerous, it is also to prevent attacks from other tribes or ferocious beasts. Oh, I understand, Wu. The explosion of ammunition is similar to our door. If you want to open the door, you have to take away the piece of wood, right? Shalan understood instantly. You can say that Subai nodded with satisfaction. As expected, girls are still very smart, and they are also very easy to learn. Wu, I have another question. After the fuse is lit, will the inside of the artillery barrel be very hot? Yanhua still has some doubts. Of course, the barrel after being lit is definitely hot and will be in a high temperature state. Subai nodded. If that's the case, Wu, then why doesn't it detonate even under high temperature? Yanhua scratched her face curiously. This is also very simple, you see. Subai came to the fire pit, quickly moved his hand back and forth on the flame, and asked, do you think my hand is on fire or burned? So it's the same principle. I see. Yanhua instantly felt like she had a sudden enlightenment. Until now, Niaojiao Niang's inner doubts have been resolved, and her mood instantly became very good. But all this is predicated on experiments. If the experiments fail, no matter how good the theory we have, it will be useless, Subai said lightly. In fact, he was still a little worried, because the production of artillery cannot be done casually. I'll take it to the people in the workshop and let them start researching it. Leave temporarily and turn around to leave Yong'an building. The Yanlong tribe now has a lot of workshops, including workshops specializing in the production of glass, as well as workshops specializing in the production of linen, porcelain, and wine. However, these can be worked with a little study, but having a workshop requires talent. That is the scientific research workshop, and all the people in it are carefully selected. They are also among the best in the tribe for their intelligence. They were the ones who developed the manual musket before. A lot of Subai's later work will be left to them, because there are still a lot of things to be developed in the future. Wu, can we really develop artillery? Yanhua asked suddenly. She was still very worried about Yanjai's attack on the tribe. It was lucky that she had newly developed weapons last year, otherwise she would not have been able to repel those ferocious beasts. But the horned lady was still very worried. Because the ferocious beasts that went crazy last year were very different from before. Moreover, the types that appeared had not appeared before, and most of them were hybrid species. Their ferocity was several times more ferocious than the previous ferocious beasts. Maybe will the ferocious beasts become too exaggerated this year? These are all things that Yanhua is worried about, especially when she sees that the tribe is getting better and better. If the tribe is still in the same state as before, just change the place. Okay. But now the tribe has developed steadily, and so many stone houses have been built in this place. Yanhua has already developed feelings for this place, and it is very difficult for the girl to abandon this place easily. Why not? It's just a matter of time, I believe we can do it. Subai comforted him. He could feel the other party's uneasiness and panic. This situation had started some time ago. But he just understood. In fact, sometimes he would also worry about Yanlong. The tribe encounters some strong enemies. Especially when it encounters some strong enemies that it cannot deal with at this stage, wouldn't the tribe that has worked so hard to develop to this point have to be surrendered to others? Even if it knows a lot of knowledge, it can still deal with it. He would also worry about some emergencies, not to mention other people. But this was also the reason why he wanted to develop artillery. No matter how strong the enemy was, they would definitely not be able to withstand the thermal weapons. Wu, I will definitely work hard to become stronger. I will also lead the warriors and soldiers to become stronger, and I will definitely protect the tribe. Yanhua suddenly became serious. She felt that she could no longer be so scared. Instead of passively worrying about the tribe being attacked, it was better to actively become stronger. Well, I will accompany you to become stronger together. Our Yanlong tribe will not be invaded. Subai suddenly grabbed the horn girl's hand. He wanted to encourage the other party more intuitively. At least in this situation, the Yanlong tribe is still relatively strong. Let's exclude the recurve bow first. The Yanlong tribe now has their explosives and manual rifles are already far ahead of other tribes. No tribe can withstand thermal weapons unless the opponent has an indestructible shell. Which? Yanhua was a little shocked. She didn't expect that the other party would suddenly hold her hand. Don't worry, our manual musketry team will have no problem dealing with people from other tribes, not to mention the big ice and snow are still some time away. Subai did not let go and continued. During this period of time, the artillery will definitely be successfully developed. Yes, Yanhua instantly felt particularly warm. She did not rush to withdraw her hand, but let it be held tightly by the other hand. The horned lady liked this feeling very much, and suddenly she wanted to hold hands all the time. Idea. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 845. Wow. Snap. Snap. A heavy rain drifted in, and the big raindrops kept falling on the leaves and rocks, making crisp sounds. From the sound of the raindrops falling, we could tell that the rain was really heavy, as if someone was pouring water from the sky with a basin. The vast primeval forest was immediately shrouded in rain and fog, and it was foggy everywhere you looked. But this scene also looks very beautiful, with light green, dark green, and bright yellow leaves swaying in the rain and fog. The gray tones composed of rain and fog give these colors a layer of mystery. This scene looks like a wonderful oil painting, which makes people want to take a second look. Of course, this was only true for Subai. Others did not have any appreciation for the heavy rain. For some tribes, this may be a moment when they can get a moment of rest. However, for some people, this heavy rain may also be a fatal danger. Because once it rains heavily, they won't have enough time to store food. Or maybe I'm going to be hungry today. After all, it's raining so hard that I can't go hunting in the forest. But this is a trivial matter to them, but to a person in the forest, this heavy rain is a fatal threat. Under a broadleaf tree, an 18-year-old boy was hiding under the tree and shivering. As the name suggests, broadleaf trees are trees with very wide leaves. A leaf can be as large as 2 meters in length and width. The leaves of this tree are the choice of many warriors when they enter the forest and encounter rain, because they are very wide and will not get wet. Many beasts and ferocious beasts will choose this tree to take shelter from the rain. This is a very life-saving thing for them. Isn't it the rainy season yet? Why did it start to rain? The boy looked up at the sky in fear. He could only vaguely see a little bit of the sky, and the rest was covered by the dense leaves of broadleaf trees. A few raindrops slowly fell from the gaps in the leaves. The boy tried his best. He was huddled around, and his clothes were very thin. Only his lower body was wearing a small piece of animal skin. He had brown hair, but it was very long. The boy also had a pair of brown eyes, which were not particularly big, but looks very impressive. There is a small mole on the left side of the nose, and the rest of the appearance is not much different from ordinary people. The mole on the nose is the most recognizable, and the nose he is also very tall and straight. His body also looks very fragile. He has obviously been hungry for several days. The ribs can be clearly seen. Wow! The rain was still falling, as if it had no intention of stopping, and the boy kept curling up next to him. He was cold and hungry, these two feelings were constantly intertwined, and his eyes that were originally bright began to feel a little unbearable. Ho ho ho! Suddenly, bursts of roaring sounded, and the sound was very loud, even though it was not covered up by the patter of rain. A vicious beast, the boy immediately picked up a spear on the ground. He was no longer curled up, but half hunched over, holding the spear tightly with one hand. His brown eyes began to scan around and above. At this moment, the smell of approaching danger is getting stronger and stronger. I haven't eaten yet, and it's raining at this time, so I won't be a difficult opponent, the boy murmured to himself. Although it was raining heavily and he felt very cold, he did not hesitate at the moment. Because he knew that hesitation was useless. If he did not stand up and resist at this moment, he would probably become a ferocious beast. A meal in his belly. The boy has been enduring the biting cold, and at the same time he has to pay attention to the ferocious beasts that may pounce at any time. He went from hiding from the rain to standing up to resist in one go. It seems that it took more than a day or two. Ho ho ho! The roar of the ferocious beast continued to sound, but this time the sound was closer. The pressure the boy felt became even deeper. His back was pressed tightly against the tree trunk, and his brown eyes were extremely wide. I don't know if the drops of water falling on his forehead are sweat or rain, but I can tell that he is very nervous at the moment. It can be seen from the hands that are holding it very tightly. If the spear was not strong enough, it would probably be broken. It must not be a large ferocious beast, let alone a fast ferocious beast, otherwise I really won't be able to parry it, the boy gritted his teeth. He had experienced many such scenes before, but it had not rained before. Most of them were either sleeping or looking for food. At that time, you could still choose to run away and avoid, but now it is we can only deal with it head on. Wow! Snap, snap! Ho ho ho! The sound of falling rain hitting the leaves and the sound of roaring beasts sounded together. This feeling would make anyone feel oppressive. Not to mention the boy hadn't eaten yet and was feeling very cold. The original forest is like this. It may have been very hot 1 second, but at night or when it rains, the temperature will start to drop again. Therefore, you must be fully prepared when entering the forest, otherwise you will easily get sick from the sudden change in weather. Rustling. There were sounds of scraping leaves. This sound was closer to the boy than the previous roar. Coming, the boy frowned. Roar. Roar, roar. 3 roars sounded, and a long-tusked and 4-eyed tiger jumped out from the bushes. It opened its bloody mouth and bit the boy, and a pair of sharp claws quickly pressed on the boy's body. Damn, it's a beast of speed and strength. The boy immediately felt that it was very difficult, and immediately moved his body away from the tree trunk. Snap! There was a huge sound of destruction, and the long-tusked 4-eyed tiger's sharp claws pressed on the tree trunk. A hole appeared in the trunk instantly. The long-tusked 4-eyed tiger jumped away, but immediately turned around and continued to attack. Everything happened. It happened in the blink of an eye, and the boy's reaction was not slow. When he left the tree trunk, he moved to another tree. This time he learned a lesson and jumped directly to the tree, but it was of no use. Long Teeth, the 4-eyed tiger, pounced up again, this time breaking the branch the boy was standing on. The boy once again had a lucky escape. He was already panting. It was obvious that the side effects of not eating had appeared. Ho ho ho! The long-toothed 4-eyed tiger was obviously annoyed, and it roared loudly and continued to prepare to attack. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 846. The boy learned smarter this time and stood a little higher, with dense leaves covering his body. However, it was most likely due to the rain and lack of food that the boy's physical strength was already a little overwhelmed. He held the tree trunk with one hand and began to breathe heavily, not only to hide his figure, but also to adjust his breathing. In addition, it is raining now, and I am only wearing an animal skin skirt. If there is a cool breeze, I will shiver. I can't continue to spend time with him like this, otherwise I will become his meal sooner or later. The boy gritted his teeth and thought. At this moment, he was really too tired. The physical torture and psychological torture had reached their peak. He wanted to run, but he didn't dare to act rashly. At this moment, the long-toothed Four-Eyes the tiger is wandering under the trees. Hum hum. It seems that the rain cannot affect the long-tusked tiger's sense of smell at all, and the majestic heavy rain can't cover up the sound of the long-tusked tiger sniffing things. It found the boy, raised its head and looked at the place where the boy was hiding in the tree, its four eyes staring straight at one location. As the name suggests, the long-toothed four-eyed tiger has very long and sharp fangs, and it also has two pairs of eyes. The rest is not much different from tigers on the other side of the earth. However, it is twice as big as a tiger on earth. An ordinary person standing next to it would look like a dwarf. The boy was a little annoyed now. He should have gone to find food earlier instead of hiding here from the rain. If I could find food earlier to replenish my strength, I wouldn't be afraid of this long-tusked four-eyed tiger now. This ferocious beast is just a junior ferocious beast, and the boy can still defeat it with his strength. I have to deal with it slowly. If we really have a head-on conflict, I have no chance of winning. The boy swung his spear and prepared to continue running away. He began to scan the surrounding environment, trying to see which tree was the best to jump to. After all, the attacks of ferocious beasts are instantaneous. Ho ho ho! The long-tusked and four-eyed tiger roared loudly, and jumped up with two powerful hind legs. The place between the lightning and flint didn't look like the place where the boy was standing. As you can imagine, the branching tree trunk was also broken. Hiss! The boy also reacted quickly and immediately jumped to another tree. He watched as the thick tree trunk with two people hugging him was easily broken. He couldn't help but swallowed, thinking, what if the blow just now had been on him? I'm afraid he will become a paste now, right? I'm glad that I can run faster. Ho ho ho! The long-toothed four-eyed tiger was extremely irritated because it had been hunted several times without success. It seems to have felt a great humiliation, and now it is preparing to make the final blow. The long-toothed four-eyed tiger was slightly hunched over, its limbs were pacing back and forth on the ground, and its two pairs of sharp eyes were staring at the boy closely. Looking at this kind of gaze makes people feel shuddering, and of course the boy feels the same way. I'm afraid I won't be so lucky this time. If I can't escape safely this time, I'm afraid I'm going to die here. The boy immediately began to look for the next target. He found that the long-tusked tiger was also scanning the surroundings, and it was obviously also predicting the boy's foothold. If it failed to pounce this time, it would immediately move to the next possible target. Place to stay. Are all today's ferocious beasts so smart? The boy curled his lips. He realized that something was wrong. He had never encountered such a smart beast before. The reason why people can survive in the tribe all depends on their wisdom. Now it seems that there are many crises. The ferocious beast in front of it has become extraordinarily smart. The previous 2 or 3 trials and errors have already made it know how to deal with it next time. It seems that I have to find a more suitable landing point, otherwise I will easily become the opponent's food. The boy did not dare to hesitate at all. He held the spear tightly with one hand and began to look for some higher places, preparing to jump to higher places to escape. The long-tusked four-eyed tiger was suddenly very fierce, but the opponent there is also a shortcoming, that is, his jumping ability is not particularly strong. So the boy just relaxed a little and didn't carefully consider where he stood, so the opponent pounced on him again. Now he has to learn to be smarter. Find an opportunity to go to a higher place. He looked at the taller tree in front of him on the left, and then at the place where he stood. Then he was still a little confused, wondering which place was more suitable for jumping. If you don't jump well, you will fall easily. Ho ho ho. Tiger with long teeth and 4 eyes. But there is no time for the opponent to think about it. It is preparing to launch a new round of offensive. You are too impatient. The boy originally wanted to throw the spear in his hand, but after thinking about it, he decided not to throw it. It would be a pity if he didn't hit it. After all, there will be other ferocious beasts to defend against. Rustling. Wow! The sound of the boy jumping up and rubbing against the leaves, and the sound of continuous rain, all added a lot of tension to the scene at this moment. The long-tusked, 4-eyed tiger jumped up and pounced on the boy. When it missed, it immediately jumped to the other side. Smart, so smart, he perfectly predicted where the boy would land next. The boy didn't dare to stop at all. After landing at the second place, he immediately jumped to another place. The long-toothed 4-eyed tiger would definitely not let the opponent stop, and immediately pounced on the third place to stay. This series of movements were all done in one go, making the boy almost unable to resist. If it weren't for the strong desire to survive that drove him, he might have given up struggling long ago. The boy jumped up 4 or 5 times before he stood safely on the top of a tree. Hoo hoo! The boy kept panting. Although it was raining heavily, his throat was extremely dry. The non-stop jumping and panting just now made his entire state reach the extreme. Ho ho ho! The long-tusked 4-eyed tiger roared angrily. This roar was because the prey that was about to be obtained was lost. You can still see a little confusion on its face, probably because it didn't expect that the prey in front of it could actually run so well. He had obviously predicted the opponent's escape route, but he didn't expect that the prey would still escape. This feeling is very uncomfortable, even for ferocious beasts. After all, they are obviously prey that is about to be obtained. There's no need to pursue him so closely, right? What's going on? The boy dared to relax and breathe heavily. He felt that he had been so unlucky recently, and some of the ferocious beasts he encountered were very smart. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 847. In the early morning, Subai signed into the system as usual and received the aid package. Without exception, what I received this time was also a primary assistance package, but the items delivered this time were quite useful. It is a very retro lock, and the pattern carved on it is also very beautiful, showing the appearance of a dragon and a phoenix. If I remember correctly, this should be the ancient lock on the other side of the earth. Subai looked at the lock carefully. Although this lock may not be very practical, it is still very beautiful. It's not of much use anyway, so let the people in this iron ore workshop study it and let them make a lock. Subai murmured to himself. He felt that the Yanlong tribe didn't have the concept of locks anyway, so he just opened one and let them study it. Subai casually put the lock in his pocket and walked out. Get ready to have breakfast and think about what you have to arrange for today. Woo, the breakfast I made today was noodles, according to your request last night, Yu Ying said immediately. There were several bowls of noodles on the table, all of which were dried and filled with various condiments. It was Subai who suddenly I want to eat noodles for a while, after all, I haven't had them for a while. Anyway, now that we have wheat flour, making noodles is easy, and making noodles is also very simple. Just cook the noodles, take them out, and add some corresponding seasonings. Ready to eat in one go. The rest of the nights were all for Ahua and Alan, right? Subai brushed his teeth and washed his face, then sat down. Yes, they went out for training early in the morning and I believe they will be back soon. Yu Ying nodded. Tap tap tap. Yanhua and Shalan happened to say that Cao was coming, so they walked in. Woo, we are back. Yanhua ran in happily. What's delicious today? Shalan flicked the cat's tail and looked in a particularly good mood. Didn't you say last night that we would eat noodles today? So now all I eat is noodles. Subai waved them to sit down. After Shalan sat down, he saw the lock on the table and asked curiously, Wu, this looks very nice. What is it? The cat-eared empress kept tilting her head and looking at the lock. It was the first time she saw such a beautiful thing. It was also the first time she saw the pattern on it, and she couldn't understand the keys next to it. Is it a new weapon? Yanhua immediately thought about this. No matter what Subai took out now, she would always consider whether it was a weapon. Because all the things she had taken out several times before were weapons, and they were also very useful. Arms. This is not a weapon, this is the lock I told you before, Subai explained. He picked up the dragon and phoenix lock, then picked up the key and demonstrated it to the girls. Snap! Snap! The crisp sound of the lock being opened sounded, and then it was closed and opened again, making crisp sounds continuously. These operations made the girl stunned. No one knew what this thing did. Wu, is this thing called a lock useful? Yanhua asked first. Although it is very magical to use a strange thing to open and close, I don't know what the use of this thing is. Because if it is not a weapon, I really don't know what this thing can do. What is it used for? If it is for eating, it looks almost like iron. If you bite it, you will definitely break a tooth. Xiao brought me a box. Subai did not answer directly, but wanted to test it and show it to the girls. Since the protruding part was already made when the box was made, the provenance part was reserved for the lock. Subai also he didn't know. It was just the stereotype in his mind. When he was drawing the box, he drew the position where it could be locked. When he got the box, he didn't react because he didn't have it at the time. The idea of locking the box. The carpenters are also very strange. They don't know what the protruding part is for. They only know that this is the drawing that the wizard brought over. If you follow the drawing, it will not work. Wrong. The Yanlong tribe originally had boxes, but their boxes did not have lids. That is, they were square boxes without the upper board. This should be considered a basket, right? Subai happened to be from when the system opened the lock. He also thought that he had already reserved a place in the box. Unexpectedly, it happened to be self-defeating now, and it could also come in handy during the demonstration. Good. Yu Ying also realized the magic of this lock, and immediately turned around and ran to get the box. The fox-eared lady brought a small box and put it on the table, and slowly pushed it over. You guys are optimistic. Snap. Subai took the box and the lock and began to cover it up. With a crisp sound, the lock had been locked on the box. He pushed the box over and said lightly, come on, you guys try to see if you can open it, but the premise is that the box and lock cannot be damaged. Only by letting the girls experiment, will they know what this lock is used for. Which, if you can't destroy the box and the lock, you will definitely not be able to open the box. Yanhua fiddled with it several times and found that the box and the lock were not moving at all. She also found that the lock was very strong. If you can't use the thing called the key in the witch's hand, it will definitely not be able to open it. Shalan didn't try it at all. Because the cat-eared girl had already seen the horned girl try it, and also knew that the lock was matched with the key. Yes, locks have this advantage. If you don't use a key and use external force, they can't be destroyed at all. Subai handed the key to the girls. Yanhua borrowed the key and opened the box, and continued to ask Wu, but what if someone breaks the lock? Doesn't it mean that this lock is useless? The lock is made of either copper or iron. Unless you use extremely strong force to break it, it is difficult to break it, Subai explained. The lock is definitely not indestructible and can also be destroyed. It just depends on the skill or strength. It turns out that if you make a very large lock, outsiders cannot easily destroy it. Yanhua nodded thoughtfully and continued, it may require a lot of force, so it will make a lot of noise, and we can detect it in time. Completely correct, Subai said with satisfaction. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 848. Woo, the road leading to the farmland has been paved for several days. Should we set up some fences next to it? Shat. Lan flicked the cat's tail and continued, this can prevent some wild animals from running up there. The cat-eared lady is worried that when these farmers take the carriage to the farmland, they will encounter some wild beasts on the road. It won't be used for the time being, there are still some things that need to be corrected, so there is no need to do these things yet, Subai said lightly. Woo, what else needs to be modified in our tribe? Shalan asked curiously. The cat-eared girl thinks that the current tribe is already very good, and she doesn't know what else can be improved. I also want to build more roads to make our transportation more convenient, Subai explained. The blueprint in his mind has been drawn a long time ago, and now it is even more important to speed up the time to implement his blueprint. Although the Yanlong tribe's current position is not small, Subai still wants to expand it. After all, his original idea was to make the tribe look like a city, so he is not satisfied with the current state of the tribe. Woo, do you want to build more roads outside the tribe? Shalan asked curiously. Well, there is nothing we can do if we only have convenient transportation within our tribe. We must make transportation convenient outside, Subai nodded. Woo, what do you plan to do with the forest outside the tribe? What about such a large area? Shalan tilted her head and said. Subai slowly took out a picture from the drawer, handed it over and said, you take a look first. The picture he drew is the blueprint of the entire tribe. It is not just the area enclosed by the wooden wall. It covers the entire area inside the wall. Subai has been drawing only one drawing for a long time. This one, the picture, is just something he has been thinking about day and night recently. It took him more than half a month to draw it. Woo, is this really our tribe? Shayan's blue eyes widened instantly. Let me see. Yanhua also moved her head over with great curiosity. Niojiao Niang didn't understand these things, so she just listened silently. It wasn't until she took out this blueprint that she was curious about what the blueprint contained. What? This is the tribe I planned, and this is what our tribe will become in the future, Subai nodded. The plan on the drawing was very clear, that is, the forest within this wall was developed. Several broad, straight avenues interspersed in the forest, and houses were also built in the forest. It rises from the ground. Looking at it, it seems as if this blueprint outlines a garden city, with not only houses but also green plants. Because there are avenues running through it, it looks particularly neat and uniform. Especially the location of the house is also very regular, making it feel more square and upright. Which, if the tribe really turned into this, it would be really amazing. Shalan is very excited now. The cat-eared girl couldn't understand the blueprint at first, but she was particularly shocked after seeing it clearly. Shalan never thought that the tribe would become what was on the blueprint. No, it should be said that the current appearance was unexpected. Not to mention the content on the drawing, she was so shocked that she didn't know what to say. Woo, does our tribe really have so many stone houses? It should take a lot of time, right? Yanhua's idea is quite strange. Although she is very shocked by the content on this drawing, the first thing that comes to mind is the house. Because it is very difficult to build stone houses in the tribe now, let alone the blueprint. There are so many stone houses marked. Of course there will be, but it is just a matter of time. As long as time can solve it, it is not a problem. Bai pointed to a section on the blueprint and continued, look, this avenue is the one we just laid out not long ago. Shalan and the two people immediately put their heads together. Because the drawings were very clear, the avenue could be recognized at a glance. It's true, it is indeed the same avenue we passed by 2 days ago. Yanhua kept blinking her red eyes. This avenue also passes through other avenues, and there are other roads passing through other avenues. This is really amazing. Shat. Lan kept looking along the avenue and continued, I finally understand why Wu didn't want to set up a fence on the avenue. That's what he meant. The cat-ear girl's understanding ability can be said to be perfect, and she instantly knew the future plan of this main road. But the main reason is that the drawings are very clear, so Shalan can analyze based on the clear drawings. Wu, why are these houses located in the middle of the avenue? Yanhua fiddled with her scattered black hair, and kept looking carefully at the square space formed by the intersection of various avenues. Houses were also drawn in the space. In addition to the very spacious avenues, there were also some small road. These houses are not built in the middle of the avenue, but are widely interspersed in the middle of these houses. It can be said that they exist with each other. Su Bai gestured on the drawing and continued to explain, look, are there distances between each house? Can these distances be used to pave roads? Yes, Yanhua nodded repeatedly. After these small roads are paved, they will all converge on the avenue, and there will also be carriages and other means of transportation on the avenue. Subai continued to draw on the drawing patiently and explained, in this way, we can take a carriage and go wherever you want to go. Wu, I understand what you said, but this forest is so big, it should be difficult to make it look like the drawing. Yanhua frowned. Although Niojiao Niang hopes that the appearance inside the wall will be what it looks like on the drawing, it is still difficult to implement it. It is indeed difficult, but as long as we plan ahead and follow the plan step by step, we can always accomplish it, right? Subai said gently. He also knew that this was not an easy task, and it couldn't be done in a few years. Time is second, and the most important thing is people. There is no way to do this without labor. Wu, it turns out that you had already planned it, so you asked the chief and the others to drive away the ferocious beasts, Shalan suddenly realized. At first, the cat-eared girl thought that driving away those ferocious beasts was for the farmland. At first, she felt that it was a bit too fussy. Only now did she really understand the intention of the witch. It turned out that the witch had been preparing for a rainy day. This is also part of the plan. Subai smiled heartily. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 849. Wu, it's just that we don't have that many people, so I'm afraid it will be difficult to implement. Shalan said worriedly. The number of people in the Yanlong tribe is just right now, and it shouldn't be said that it's just right. It's just that everyone has their own work. It should be said that the distribution of work is just right, and there is no way to add more. Some people have been arranged to come out. Whether it is building stone houses, farmland, or workshops, there are no people available. Let alone recruiting people, if there are more people for them, then they also accepted everything according to the order. But judging from the current situation, the Yanlong tribe cannot draw more people out. I also know this, so this is also one of the problems we encountered. Subai frowned. Of course he knew that there were not enough people in the tribe, so he never came up with this plan. If there were enough people in the tribe, he would have implemented the plan long ago. Wu, it seems that we can only postpone this plan again, because we can't spare so many people. Shalan said regretfully. Although the cat-eared lady really wants this plan to be implemented immediately, she just doesn't have the conditions to implement it now. Yes, the most important thing now is to develop the current things first. Subai nodded. He must have a lot of ideas, but having ideas and being able to implement them are two different things. He has so much knowledge on the other side of the earth, which he can use here. But it is difficult for a clever woman to make a meal without rice. No matter how powerful a person is, he cannot conjure a bowl of rice out of thin air. Wu, is it true that if there are very many people in our tribe, we can implement the plan on the picture you drew? Yan Hua asked. Niujiao Niang still seemed a little unwilling to give up. The plan on the drawing made her very yearning for it. Of course, if we have enough people, it will not be a problem to carry out this plan. Subai put his hands together and said. Wu, if that's the case, then I have a way to expand our personnel, Yan Hua said immediately. When Niujiao Niang finished speaking, there was still a smile on her face. It was obvious that she had a very good idea. Oh? Do you have any good ideas? Tell me. Subai became interested instantly. Can we go to other tribes to recruit some people? Yan Hua said immediately. The first thing that came to Niujiao Niang's mind was this method. Since there are not enough people from the Yanlong tribe, there are people from other tribes. Ahua, do you know that people from other tribes will expose our secrets? Shat. Lan continued with a serious look on his face. Not only that, they may even betray us. The cat-eared lady is not very confident about people from other tribes. After the previous incident where her ancestral land was taken away, she will always be extra cautious. Alan is right. Although our tribe can indeed recruit people from other tribes, this is a bit risky, Subai said seriously. In fact, as long as the Yanlong tribe starts talking now, anyone who is willing to work in the Yanlong tribe will be given food and shelter. There must be a lot of people who want to come to the Yanlong tribe, but are these people reliable? No, these people are very dangerous. Maybe some of the Yanlong tribe's porcelain secrets, paper-making secrets, linen manufacturing secrets, iron ore secrets, etc. will be exposed. By then, each tribe will develop. When it reaches the point where it is almost the same as the Yanlong tribe, the Yanlong tribe will lose any advantage. At that time, it may also become the primary target of other tribes' attacks. Subai does not want to take this risk. Wu, that's not what I meant. There are many small tribes, and they have begun to be unable to sustain themselves. Yan Hua immediately shook his head crazily and continued. There are still many exiled tribes. In fact, we can find these people. Of course Niujiao Niang knows what Wu and Shalan are worried about, and she is not so stupid. Although they are all small tribes, they will not easily join other tribes. Shat. Lan fiddled with her long blue hair and continued. Maybe they thought we had premeditated it, but it's still a bit unreliable. Mao Er Niang's worry is not unreasonable. Even if it is a small tribe that is about to be unable to survive, the risk of betraying the Yanlong tribe is also very high. Alan is right to worry, but this is not necessarily a good idea. We can optimize this method. Subai raised the corners of his mouth slightly. He already had a good idea in his mind, and it happened to be the good advice given by Niujiao Niang. Wu, do you agree with my idea? Yan Hua grinned instantly. Wu, I don't know what kind of idea I should improve this idea into. Shalan is starting to look forward to it. It is certain that some small tribes will not survive the rainy season, and they will also become exiled tribes by then. Until then, we just need to wait. Su Bai took a sip of tea and asked a question. What will happen to each tribe when the rainy season comes? They will start preparing food, prepare some plans for the arrival of the rainy season, or move out of their original place in advance. Shalan expressed her thoughts. Some tribes will fight each other to compete for territory and food. In short, everyone wants to have a good rainy season. What Yan Hua thought of at that moment was fighting. Yes, what you two said is very right. There must be many tribes who can't help but attack another tribe. At this time, we just need to wait patiently. Subai was in a good mood and felt that the tea he drank was fragrant. He continued to explain. When war breaks out, many people will definitely be abandoned. They will be more innocent when they are homeless. Of course he wants to expand the tribe, but before expanding the tribe, he must ensure that those people are the center of the Yanlong tribe. Oh. I understand, it's a bit similar to the sea fish tribe and the sea insect tribe. Wu helped this tribe last time, so now it has surrendered to our Yanlong tribe, Shalan suddenly realized. Wu, at this time, should we just go find people near these tribes? Yanhua asked. She still admired Wu very much in her heart. As expected, what she thought was completely different from what she thought. She thought of many places that she had never thought of, and these places were very important. Well, there are still more than 20 days until the rainy season arrives. At this time, we just have to wait slowly. Subai smiled and said. I understand, Wu, why don't we start sending people to pay attention to the small tribes around us? Shalan asked. It's almost time to start paying attention. Subai relaxed and leaned back on the chair. Clear. Shalan smiled and said. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 850. The boy finally waited until the rain stopped and was very lucky to pick up an injured hare. This helped him regain some strength in time, otherwise he would really starve to death. Just eating those wild fruits is of no use. The energy of wild fruits is not as high as that of meat. Eating wild fruits every day will lead to malnutrition and, most importantly, loss of physical strength. People must replenish carbohydrates. Without carbohydrates, there will be no energy, let alone fight against those ferocious beasts. So this time the injured hare just replenished the boy's strength, otherwise he would have to submit obediently if he encountered a vicious beast. The rain really didn't come on time, so I couldn't find any dry firewood. After searching for a long time, the boy kept muttering there. All the hair in his hand had been eaten was the bones, and the oil stains in his mouth meant that he had eaten in a hurry. After all, after not eating meat for so long, it was not easy to find a hare in front of him. If you don't eat quickly, what if it disappears? But there's no way I can continue like this. Sooner or later I'll be eaten by a ferocious beast, the boy said bitterly. He glanced around to make sure there were no problems before he settled down. The boy had been nervous for a long time, and there was nothing he could do about entering the virgin forest. No matter how rational a person is, it would be unbearable even if you come here for a day or two, because the dangers in the virgin forest are too great. You have to pay attention not only to the ferocious beasts that eat people, but also to the very small animals. Not only you have to be extra careful with these creatures, even those plants. In addition, they are traps set by the tribesmen. I must find a tribe, otherwise no matter how powerful I am, I won't be able to hold on. The boy gritted his teeth and stood up. The boy's name is Madara, and he has been a member of the exiled tribe since he was a child. However, the boy's talent is very good. Now that he is only a teenager, his totem power has already reached intermediate, can be said to be a rare genius. It is precisely because of this powerful talent that he has never joined any tribe. But the reason why he changed his mind now is mainly because he has been following the exile tribe in the past few days. They all died overnight. Madara did not look very sad because this was already a habit for him. He has joined too many exiled tribes since he was a child, and he has also witnessed the demise of many exiled tribes. His parents are from the exiled tribe. They were born and raised in such an environment. He has to get used to it even if he doesn't want to. No matter how powerful Madara is, he can't stop it without a team by his side. But after walking for so many days, there is still no exiled tribe found. Generally, exiled tribes have many talents, right? Madara is used to mumbling to himself. Even when he was in the exiled tribe, he was not very talkative. Because he felt that no one could understand him, and he didn't want to understand other people. With this kind of personality, naturally no one wants to communicate with him. So he has developed the habit of talking to himself all the time, which he thinks is pretty good. If I can't find it again, I won't be able to hold on anymore, Madara said bitterly. Yes, he has been looking for people from the exiled tribe in the forest these days, and wants to join an exiled tribe again. But this is not an easy thing, otherwise he would not be reduced to what he is now. In the first few days of the search, the boy was very comfortable and didn't have to worry too much about the ferocious beasts that appeared. Those that could be dealt with would be naturally hunted and eaten, and those that could not be dealt with would still have enough physical strength to escape. It's just that the boy now doesn't have the physical strength he had before, so he must find an exiled tribe to take a good rest. If it doesn't work out, can we just go to the tribe? But those tribes have too many rules. Madara began to question and answer himself. It's not like he didn't think about the tribes with witches in the past, and he also knew that those tribes would definitely take him in. After all, he was an intermediate totem warrior, and no tribe was willing to let such a good warrior go. Power. But when he thought about the many tribal rules, he couldn't help but feel a little conflicted. Forget it, let's look for the exile tribe first. There is really no way to go to the tribes with more rules. Madara curled his lips. He still felt a little unsatisfied. It was obvious that the hair did not fill his stomach. Gila gila. Madara touched his belly with his hand and said, "Go to the tree to see if there are any eggs. If you are lucky, you may encounter more." The boy carried the spear behind his back and casually picked the eggs from the wild eggs next to him. After eating the fruit, he began to climb the branches to find birds' nests. He had been filling his stomach like this for a while. There were many birds in the forest. Not all birds in the primeval forest are very small, there are also some that are exceptionally large, and the eggs they lay will naturally be larger. Rustling. Madara climbed up a tree that he thought was relatively tall and began to look into the distance. When looking for the next target, you must choose carefully, otherwise you will choose an area with many ferocious beasts. The boy didn't know if it was unlucky or something, but every time he struggled for a long time about which path to choose. In the end there were usually a lot of ferocious beasts there. I think we can't waste time like this. We have to go find those small tribes. The rainy season is coming soon. Madara frowned and continued, I must enter the tribe before the rainy season, otherwise I will die in the forest. The rainy season is the season that everyone is worried about, even boys who don't like to be restrained. If there is still no way to find a suitable exile tribe before the rainy season arrives, Madara will decide to go to a small tribe. There shouldn't be that many rules in a small tribe, right? I will leave as soon as the rainy season is over. Madara said to himself with satisfaction. He felt that this was the most suitable. Small tribes are much easier to deal with than large tribes. Rustling. Madara simply gave up looking for the eggs and started walking in the direction where he thought the tribe was. I plan to find a tribe as a backup first, and then look for those exiled tribes. If there is really no other way, go to the alternative target, but the prerequisite is that the alternative target must also have meat for people to eat. This is something Madara will consider. You can't go to that tribe and not have meat to eat, right? Therefore, the boy will observe the situation of that tribe from a distance. If it is not suitable, he will immediately look for the next alternative target. I'm really too smart. Madara couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth slightly. Rustling. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 851. In the dense virgin forest, Uni and other people from the Daihu tribe are advancing rapidly. It had been a few days since they left the tribe, and they were traveling intensely every day. They all want to get to the Yanlong tribe as quickly as possible, and the danger in the forest is also very great. They didn't dare to stay in the forest for too long, as they might encounter some difficult beasts. Like the last time they went to the Yanlong tribe, they were unlucky and many soldiers were targeted by the ferocious beasts. The result can be imagined, either injury or death. Danger is everywhere in the forest. How long until we get to the Yanlong tribe? The feeling has been coming out for several days. Uni looked up at the dense jungle. The tiger-eared girl is walking in the forest as if she were a child. These trees are really too tall. Each tree is generally tens of meters or hundreds of meters high. This is still it's not particularly high, there are some that are hundreds of meters high. There are also those strange flowers, stones, strange steep slopes, etc. In short, it is easy to fall to death if you accidentally step on the air. You'd better watch the road, don't fall down before you reach the Yanlong tribe. I said with concern. There is no other reason, because you also fell down last time. Fortunately, when you fell, your hand happened to grab the vine next to you, otherwise you would have died. You think I'm you, I won't fall down, I'm always looking at the road. Uni couldn't help but laugh. Last time, it happened to be a critical moment, otherwise I would really fall to death, and the tiger-eared lady immediately caught her. That's not you. I'm helping you find the way in front, otherwise I wouldn't have fallen. I rolled his eyes. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Anyway, just pay attention now. I just want to go to the Yanlong tribe as soon as possible. Uni only wants the Yanlong tribe. I heard that the witch has assigned you a task this time. Do you know how to complete it? I asked. Before setting off, the girl had heard Niang talk about it, and knew that this time she was going to the Yanlong tribe with a mission. I don't know yet. Anyway, let's go there first. It's better than staying in the tribe all the time, right? Uni asked back. She agreed at the time without thinking about how to carry out this task. The most immediate idea at the moment was to leave the Daihu tribe and go to the Yanlong tribe to eat. Yes, Tiger Ear's mom misses the Yanlong tribe's food very much, especially those barbecues. That is true, but now that we have come out, we have to consider how to complete this task. Ci is quite serious. Although the girl joined this tribe from another tribe, she has the mentality that since she has joined this tribe, she is a member of this tribe. Therefore, she takes the task sent by the Daihu tribe very seriously and does not want to vague. Won't we find out when we get to the Yanlong tribe? This kind of thing is not simple. Uni thinks this task is not difficult. Anyway, after going to the Yanlong tribe in the big market, you can always get the answer by asking a few people. When she received this task, tiger-eared girl didn't think it was necessary. What difficulty? I just think it might not be that simple. These are the goods of the Yanlong tribe, and I'm afraid they won't let others know about it easily. Ci is quite rational. She never thought that after going to the Yanlong tribe, she could just ask someone for the answer. The girl felt that those porcelain and linen cloths must not have appeared overnight. They must have experienced it. It took a long time for such goods to be formed. The strange thing is that even those in the big market don't know what's going on. Anyway, we can still stay in the Yanlong tribe for a few days, so we can always get some news. Uni is still relatively optimistic. She is more Buddhist than optimistic. She always wants to take one step at a time. Anyway, her biggest hope is to rush to the Yanlong tribe. If we fail to complete this task, we will definitely be scolded. Ci doesn't want to treat this mission casually. So do you have any good ideas? Uni took out the animal skin water bag and started to drink a lot of water. After traveling in the forest for a long time, the hot weather and the feeling of humidity in the forest made people feel that their throats were unconsciously dry. We can follow your initial idea and ask people in the big market first. Ci paid attention to the road under his feet while continuing. If we can't find the answer, we will start with the warriors of the Yanlong tribe. Do you mean to fight them? Then we have no chance of winning, Uni said without hesitation. Tiger-eared girl felt that not many people were brought this time, and their weapons would be confiscated when they entered the Yanlong tribe. What should they take with the Yanlong tribe? What about fighting against other people? What's more, they are in the opponent's tribe. If they turn against the warriors of the Yanlong tribe at this time, I'm afraid they will be unable to survive. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that we can find a breakthrough from them. Maybe they know something. I couldn't help but rolled his eyes. He began to murmur in his heart, wondering how powerful the Yanlong tribe was to make such a quiet person become like this. It's not that it's not good to be like this. But it seems a little too lively, and she feels a little big-hearted. The girl still misses the quiet and rigorous tiger-eared girl before, at least she can discuss things rationally like that. We may not be able to get close to the warriors of the Yanlong tribe. You must know that we belong to other tribes. How can they let us easily get close to the warriors of the Yanlong tribe? Uni stuffed the animal bone plug and continued, it's not like you don't know that other tribes are strictly prohibited from approaching the warrior training ground. Maybe the people from the Yanlong tribe will kill us. Tiger-eared girl didn't have any thoughts about the warriors of the Yanlong tribe from the beginning. She might even provoke a war between the two tribes. She likes the goods and food of the Yanlong tribe very much, and she also loves the land very much. Tiger tribe, how could they bear to watch two tribes fighting? Of course not directly close to their training ground, we can pretend to meet each other on the road or something like that. I continued to talk about her thoughts. She was really worried about this mission, and of course she was very happy to go to the Yanlong tribe again. After going to the tribe, she could see Lucy and start chatting for a while. Damn it! It's just that the Witch Commission has assigned a task, and it must be regarded as the first priority. Everything is up to you and we will make arrangements when we arrive at the Yanlong tribe. Uni shook her hair. Okay, I nodded. She knew that tiger-eared lady couldn't listen now, so she thought that she would calm down when she got to the Yanlong tribe. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 852. Subai was standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window looking outside. He had just finished lunch and wanted to take a rest. Woo, how to use this thing. Yu Ying held a grater and studied it for a long time. This was the aid package that Subai had just opened from the system in the morning. It is the stainless steel grater from the earth. It is obviously from the kitchen supplies. Ha 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 ha, Subai smiled heartily, turned around and asked, why haven't you researched it yet? When he opened this thing from the system, he handed it directly to the fox-eared lady without directly telling her how to use it. Instead, let the other party study how to use it, which can be regarded as teasing the fox-eared lady. Woo, I can't figure it out, I don't know what this kind of thing is. Yu Ying looked pitiful. The fox-eared girl tried various methods but couldn't figure out the reason, such as fiddling around, putting it in the water, hitting things, etc. This thing is called a grater. Bring me a peeled potato and I will demonstrate it to you, Subai said with a smile. This thing is everywhere on the earth, and it is one of the must-have things for every family. When he opened this thing from the system, he felt that it was of no use, but it would be better than it's just more convenient to use a knife to cut. He still hopes to develop some useful talents and skills from the system, which can also enrich his own strength. Good. Yu Ying immediately turned around and went to the kitchen to get it. Tap tap tap. A few minutes later, the fox-eared lady ran out with a peeled potato and washed it cleanly. Subai saw that the other party also took a basin, and nodded with satisfaction, thinking that the fox-eared lady must have guessed it. He finally washed and peeled the potatoes and began to demonstrate. He placed the grater in the basin and placed it diagonally, leaving a certain amount of space underneath. Woo, did you put the potatoes on top? Yu Ying tilted her head and asked. Fox-eared lady heard the word grater and probably thought it was about turning potatoes into threads. Well, hold the potato firmly with one hand, and then rub it back and forth on the grater. Subai explained and demonstrated at the same time. As the sounds of potatoes and graters were heard, the originally complete potatoes began to turn into strands. The whole process only takes a minute or two. This is much more convenient than cutting with a knife, and the results are more even. So amazing. All the potatoes turned into sticks one by one, and the speed was so fast, Yu Ying said in shock. The fox-eared lady didn't even know what happened, and it felt like it was over all at once. When she saw Subai was halfway through wiping, she originally wanted to demonstrate, but she didn't expect that it was over before she even opened her mouth. That's the convenience of a grater, something you can't do with a knife, Subai said with a smile. Of course, what he said can't be applied, which means that he and fox-eared girl can't do it. There are a lot of talents on the earth. But which, how do you cook potatoes when they are like this? Yu Ying was in trouble. In the past, potatoes were boiled or roasted whole. This is the first time that they have become silky like now. It can be made into spicy and sour potato shreds and tastes very good. These were the first things that came to Subai's mind. Hot and sour potato shreds? Woo, how to do this? Yu Ying shook her pink foxtail. Just add some chili peppers and orchid sea fruits, the whole taste will be different. You can try it when you have dinner, Subai said with a smile. To be honest, he hasn't eaten hot and sour potato shreds for a while, and he really wants to try it. I'm going to try it out tonight, Yu Ying agreed immediately. Puchi, Puchi. Just when the fox-eared lady finished speaking, there was a sound of flapping wings outside the window. What's the situation? Subai immediately looked out the window, but still found nothing. Woo, it must be that the land bird is preparing to fly back to higher places, Yu Ying guessed. As soon as the fox-eared lady finished speaking, a large group of terrestrial birds began to fly out of the forest. The sound of flapping wings came from far away, and a crowd of birds suddenly appeared in the sky. They didn't make any sounds, they just kept flapping their little wings. Subai looked up at these terrestrial birds and asked, if my guess is correct, these birds all live on land up there, right? Based on his habit of naming primitive tribes, the three words terrestrial bird clearly explain everything. Yes, which is, because their wings are very short, they cannot fly to very high places or relatively far places to find food, so they can only survive on land. Yu Ying came to the window curiously, looked at the birds in the sky, and continued, but their running speed is top-notch. Hu Niang is a member of a primitive tribe after all. She has heard this knowledge since she was a child. So that's what I thought it was. Subai nodded thoughtfully and continued to ask, since their wings are short and they cannot fly to high places or far away to find food, why have they begun large-scale migration now? This scene is still very familiar. Although I don't know these birds, this habit is called migration. Woo, what is migration? All I know is that the rainy season is coming soon, and the places where they live will be flooded, so they can only fly away. Yu Ying looked at the flock of birds and continued, but flying away this time is the end of their lives. Because the wings of land birds are very short, if you want to fly to high places to avoid floods caused by the rainy season, you must fly with all your strength. However, this will also cause them to be exhausted and cause their wings to break. It's a heavy price to pay. Since flying away is also death, staying there is also death, so why go through this hard life? Subai continued to ask. He must be a novice about some things in the primitive era. He has to ask the girls around him more. My father told me before that these land birds all fly to lay eggs, and when the time comes, all the young birds will fly back, Yu Ying explained. There are such strange creatures. But wouldn't the baby bird be exhausted when it flies back? Subai asked curiously. My father once said that the wings of newly born land birds are very wide, and they only become smaller when they fly back to their original place. Yu Ying tried hard to remember. So that's it. What an interesting creature. Subai looked up at the sky with a smile. The flock of terrestrial birds at this moment was like a big net, covering the entire sky in an instant. Woo, These birds taste really good, Yu Ying suddenly said. Oh? Looks like you can give it a try. Subai couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. Please update for support and customization.